What's up, y'all? We back, man. Let me get this on here real quick. I'm gonna show y'all the chair, man. I just got through with the chair, you know what I mean? Fold up on it, you feel me? Blue and black leather. And then I do it go all the way back. We up in here though. We're about to get into this for most amazing top 10, y'all. We back at it again. Most amazing top 10. Top 10 dark pictures. Yeah, I can't fucking speak today. That amazing top 10 and then going into that with the top 10. Man, it got me. Top 10 dark pictures from history that cannot be explained, bro. Damn, that's a tongue twister, man. Let's go and get into it. Let's go.
10th spot, we have the Salem UFO. On the morning of July 16th, 1952, this photo was captured by Shell Alpert and has stumped people ever since. The photo shows 4 unidentified objects hovering in the air above Salem, Massachusetts, and was taken at the Salem Coast Guard Air Station. The objects seem to be above the Winter Island and Cat Cove areas, but there really isn't much more that is known about this strange incident. There are a few theories regarding this photo. One is a camera glitch, others think it may just be light reflecting off of the window that the photo was taken through, but of course there are people who point to similar incidents that happened in the 1950s, and of course believe it is proof of extraterrestrial beings. It is very likely we may never know exactly what's going on here, but the air of mystery it leaves is definitely kinda cool. In our number 9 spot today, we have the frozen man of Mount Everest. This photo comes from 1996 and it shows Beck Weathers getting treated after the Mount Everest disaster. The Mount Everest disaster took place on May 10th and 11th in 1996, where there was a blizzard on the mountain that ended up stranding and taking the lives of 8.
Bro, y'all see that, bro? That nigga, I was gonna say it looked like his face got burned by fire, but his face didn't get burned by fire. They was stuck out in the snow. That's fucking frostbite on his nose and on his cheeks, boy. Man, when it get cold out there like that, man, if you ain't got the right clothing on for that temperature, bro, oh man. That's
8 people who were aiming to descend the mountain. Beck was a part of the team who was climbing the mountain on this fateful day, and he ended up suffering from snow blindness during the climb. He actually fell into a hypothermic coma because it was so cold, and he suffered severe frostbite on his face, hands, and feet. Pretty miraculously, he not only survived, but ended up walking back down to camp in order to get help, where he was then taken by helicopter.
That dude was tough, bro. Frostbite, he still walked out.
To receive treatment. He ended up needing his hands, parts of his feet, and even his nose amputated, but he survived this whole ordeal, and that is the most important thing. In our number 8 spot today, we have the reflecting pool. This is one of the creepiest or most chilling images ever taken. It depicts a young girl in a graveyard who is looking down at a reflection in a pond. Okay, maybe a little eerie, but not.
She's looking at her reflection in the pond, bro, and it's split into 2. I get that right off the
exactly chilling. What makes this photo what it is, however, is that there are seemingly 2 reflections looking back up at this little girl. No one knows who this girl is, where she is, or even when this photo was taken, but it is estimated to have come from somewhere around the early 1900s.
Oh, it do look like that in a fucking cemetery, so that wouldn't surprise me for something like that to happen. I mean, they are in the cemetery.
It was analyzed, and it has been said that it is unaltered or edited. Who knows how this photo was possible? Maybe there was some sort of invisible entity standing beside her that we could only see the reflection of, like a reverse vampire or something. In our number 7 spot today, we have the elephant's foot. This photo looks like it's just a big lump of nothing, but it is called an elephant's foot. No, it's of course not a real elephant's foot, and instead is just called that because of its appearance. This lump was actually created from the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown, and it is just a mass of corium and other materials that were in the core of the reactor. This elephant's foot was
located, bro. That definitely looks like a damn elephant's foot for real.
Located in the steam distribution corridor, which is under what's left of the reactor. While this mass doesn't produce as much radiation as it did before, it does still produce a deadly amount even today. Like, so much so that just a few minutes of being around it is enough to get a lethal dose of radiation. It's kind of crazy.
And that reminds me of another one I watched with these these brothers, they was going to collect copper, bro. And they came across this building. It was like an underground fucking bunker. Anyways, come to find out, these motherfuckers was in a military bunker. Took some shit. The brother took something, bro, that had fucking nuclear reaction on it, bro. All they ass started dropping dead, bro. Every one of them that touched that shit died, one after another.
Crazy that even though they knew this, they were still standing there taking pictures of it. For a long time, the severity of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster was being kept a secret from the public and those who it mattered to the most. Photos like these only give us a glimpse into this horrible disaster and how things went down. In our number 6 spot today, we have the penitentiary. This photo comes from what is left of the Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. This prison used to be the most famous and the most expensive in the world, but now this is the sort of thing that is left of it. This prison is actually now used as a tourist attraction, and it becomes a haunted house during Halloween. The prison used to house some pretty high-profile prisoners, such as Scarface himself, Al Capone. The prison was opened in 1829 and was known for its advanced technology for the time. They had things like central heating, flush toilets, and shower baths in each cell. These were all considered luxuries in 1829. The first prisoner to be held there was Charles Williams, who was facing a 2-year sentence for theft. When he arrived at the prison, he had a hood over his head so as to protect his identity, but also so that he wouldn't know what the rest of the prison looked like, so he would never be able to plan an escape. While prison is never good, the craziest thing about this specific one is that all of the prisoners lived in isolation. I can't even imagine what that would be like, especially for the people who found themselves there for a long period of time. This photo is just a truly haunting reminder of all that once went on in this prison. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Stanford prison experiment. This photo comes from 1971 during the Stanford prison experiment. For those of you who aren't familiar with this experiment, it started on August 14th, 1971 and was led by university psychology professor Philip Zimbardo. The experiment took student volunteers and divided them into 2 groups, one group of prisoners and one group of guards, and they placed all of the volunteers into a fake prison that was created for this experiment. The experiment aimed to see if and how quickly humans would turn evil under the right conditions with the right amount of power. Basically, it was a test to try and answer the question of if humans are inherently good or inherently evil. I think everyone was pretty shocked with the results. After just 6 days, the experiment needed to be concluded because the guards began absolutely tormenting the prisoners. It really showed the kinds of things humans can be capable of, even after a short time. This photo is definitely reminiscent of that experiment, and it serves as our reminder. In our number 4 spot today, we have the acid drum. This photo comes to us from the inside of a house of one of the most terrible people, the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. This photo was taken from the inside of his home after he was found and caught by authorities. Before his arrest, he was sadly able to take the lives of 17 people. Although this photo might look kind of plain, the horrors are plentiful. This shot shows a full drum of acid that was located inside of his home. I probably don't need to tell you what it was used for, because who has a full drum of acid inside of their home? Especially when you're a serial killer. I can't imagine the horrors.
Nigga that's trying to get rid of their body. That's when they gonna have a fucking drum of acid in their house. They trying to drop a body in there. Drop a body in there, everything's gone. Everything. Bones, skin, all that. They ain't finding nothing, bro. Nothing. It's all gone.
Investigators saw when they entered his home, and even previous to that as they investigated his crimes. Thankfully, Jeffrey was caught, and in 1992 he was sentenced to life in prison, but just 2 years later he was killed by a fellow prison inmate. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Gadget. This photo shows the first ever atomic bomb, and it comes to us from 1945. Called the Gadget, this bomb was an implosion plutonium device that was detonated in the Trinity test in 1945. This photo shows someone sitting next to it, so casually like it's a stuffed animal and not like it's a world-changing device. The Trinity test was the very first time a nuclear weapon was detonated, and the Gadget was actually of the same design as the bomb that was later detonated over Nagasaki, Japan on August 9th, 1945. There is a very eerie nature about this photo and the seemingly casual behavior of the man next to it. Did he know what this was about to unleash? Perhaps not, but more eerily, maybe he did. In our number 2 spot today, we have change. This photo was taken by Fred Blackwell on May 28, 1963, and is actually showing us a moment of protest. The three sitting at the counter are Joan Trompour, Anne Moody, and their sociology teacher, John Salter. The reason why this photo is so important is because these three are sitting at a quote white-only counter at Woolworth's Five and Dime store in Jackson, Mississippi, while being attacked by an angry mob. People are throwing condiments at them, and I'm sure saying some pretty nasty things. The two students went to Tougaloo College, which was a black college that ended up being at the core of the civil rights movement in Mississippi. It's amazing to see how brave they are, and a photo like this is really such an important message for us to remember today. In our number 1 spot today, we have Bikini Island. Bikini in the Marshall Islands was once inhabited by around 170 islanders until 1945 rolled around. The US president at the time, Harry Truman, ordered that the military continue to test nuclear weapons just in case they were needed in the future, since this was shortly after the end of World War II. Unfortunately, Bikini was the place that was chosen to be the testing site, since all planes and ships traveled on routes that weren't close to the area. The residents of the island were asked to vacate, quote, for the good of mankind and to end all world wars, to which they of course obliged, under the impression that they would one day be able to move back. Test weapons were detonated on the reef itself, on the sea, in the air, and underwater, and this photo shows.
Damn. They blew some shit up underwater and they made the water jump out the water. Now look at that shit.
What was happening during just one of these tests, and it wasn't even the largest one. Although the former residents of Bikini were promised that they would one day be able to return home, the island still remains uninhabited because of the mass amounts of radiation that still exist here.
Number 10. Sea creature. Hook Island is off the coast of Queensland, Australia, and Robert Le Serac, his family, and a friend, Hank de Jong, stayed there for 3 months in late 1964. On December 12, 1964, the Le Seracs and Hank were crossing Stowhaven Bay on an
Let's take us on a little history, little lesson, y'all. Maybe y'all know about this, maybe y'all didn't. If y'all did, good, we just catching up. If y'all didn't, shit, let's play catch up together.
Island when Robert's wife noticed something odd in the water. It was a long, tadpole-like creature. It was black, and it was believed that it was at least 30 feet long. Robert and Hank decided to venture into the water and record it on film. When they entered the water, the monster was even bigger than they thought. But as they started recording, the creature opened its mouth and swam away. When they checked the film, they had no footage of the creature, but the pictures clearly showed it. The pictures were published in a magazine and eventually spread across the world, making it one of the most famous and unexplained pictures of a cryptid. Number 9. A spaceman? This is one of the world's most famous mysterious photos. The image was taken by Jim Templin near Solway Firth in Coombe, England in 1964. It is a simple photo of his daughter, but behind Jim's daughter, who was supposed to be the only figure in the picture, there is another entity resembling a spaceman. Jim insists he did not see anyone else present when the photograph was taken, so what's behind her? The image was reproduced widely in contemporary newspapers and gained the interest of UFOologists. Jim took the picture to the police in Carlisle, who, after many doubts, examined it and stated there was nothing suspicious about it. The local newspaper, the Cumberland News, picked up the story, and within hours it was all over the world. Regarding the photo, Jim said, "The picture is certainly not fake, and I am bemused as anyone else as to how this figure appeared in the background. Over the 4 decades the photo has been in the public domain, I have had many thousands of letters from all around the world with various ideas or possibilities, which most make little sense to me." Modern analysis suggests that the figure might have been the photographer's wife standing with her back towards the cameras, but not even this explanation is convincing enough. Number 8. Strange lights. Since the 1940s, and possibly even earlier, there has been a strange light phenomenon observed in Hessdalen Valley, Norway. The spectacle has a form of white or yellow light of unknown origin standing or floating above ground level. Between 1981 and 1984, the lights were observed up to 20 times per week, but have drastically reduced in frequency since then, about 10 to 20 times per year. Why the decrease all of a sudden? No one knows. No one knows where the lights come from, but UFO enthusiasts took this as a sign that the valley was a portal to other worlds. It wasn't just conspiracy theorists that were interested in this, as the strange bursts of light in the 1980s attracted physicists too. Interest piqued by the idea of some sort of explained natural phenomenon. In the decades since, scientists have determined the glow likely comes from air turned into plasma. Despite ongoing research and numerous working hypotheses, there is no convincing explanation for the origin of these lights, and seems like it will always be a mystery. Number 7. Fairy circles. For those of you with trypophobia, look away. Found in the arid grasslands of the western part of South Africa, the fairy circles are circular patches of barren land. They typically occur in monospecific grassy vegetation, and the circles vary between 7 and 49 feet in diameter. Until 2014, the phenomenon was only known to occur in the western parts of southern Africa, but that year ecologists were alerted to similar rings of vegetation outside of Africa and a part of Pilbara in Western Australia. There are various myths about these fairy circles. One from Himba people say that these barren patches are said to have been caused by the gods, spirits, and natural divinities. Of specific beliefs, the Himba people note that their original ancestor, Merkuru, was responsible for the creation of the fairy circles, or that they were the footprints of gods. Another myth, promoted by some tour guides, is that the circles are formed by a dragon in the earth, and that its poisonous breath kills the vegetation. The origin and history of fairy circles have long been a puzzle, and even now, scientists are not sure who or what created them. One favorite assumption is that a sand termite is responsible for the circles, but the range of the phenomenon is much wider than that of termite species, so it's unknown. Number 6. Ghostly waters. In December 1924, James Courtney and Michael Meehan were crew members of the SS Watertown. While on the ship, they were cleaning a cargo tank of the oil tanker, and they were overcome by gas fumes, which resulted in both of their deaths.
Oh yeah, that's cutting their head off. Where is it? Oh yeah, we're gonna get back to it.
Due to this, the crew buried them in the sea, but to their astonishment, the ghostly faces of the soldiers appeared in the water the next day. Yeah, like in the waves. Later on, many crew members reported to see the faces as well. The faces were so visible that the captain of the ship ordered them to take a picture of them to have proof. You know, so people didn't think that they were all crazy. In the picture, you can clearly see two faces, and it's just plain creepy. When they returned to the land, the negative was even checked for fakery and proclaimed genuine. Number 5. Pyramid on the Moon. This is for all the people who believe that the moon is real. In December 1972, this image was taken by Apollo 17 in the area known as Geophone Rock. NASA listed the image as blank, but after retouching the photo, you can see that it's not completely blank. Turning up the contrast, a pyramidal structure can be seen. So what was it? Was it some malfunction of the camera, or is there actually a pyramid on the moon? NASA has never given a credible version of the issue, which has led some speculations about what else can actually be on the moon, hidden to public awareness. And listen, not to be a crazy conspiracy.
Why in the hell would we have a pyramid on the moon? A pyramid on the moon for what? I don't know. I want to go to the moon though, shit. Cause it's been a whole big old discussion saying back in the day them niggas was faking and they ain't been to the moon. Send a real hood nigga to the moon, NASA. Y'all see this, man? Send this to NASA. Tell them, send me to the moon. I'll take the little test and we gonna go to the moon.
Conspiracy theorists, but maybe it's true that aliens built the pyramids on Earth, as it looks like they did on the moon too. NASA, please tell us the truth. Number 4. Figure climbing the stairs. Reverend Ralph Hardy, a retired clergyman from White Rock, British Columbia, took this famous photograph in 1966. Originally, he only wanted to take a picture of the elegant tulip staircase in the Queen's House section of the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, England. And I mean, I don't blame him, they're pretty. But upon development, the photo revealed a shrouded figure climbing the stairs. It's strange and unsettling, and Ralph says there was no one else in the frame when he took it. So, is it a ghost? That seems like the most reasonable explanation at this point. Experts who examined the original negative concluded that it had not been tampered with. The vicinity of the staircase is rumored to be haunted, and unexplained footsteps had often been heard there, so it could definitely be a ghost, but it's still very strange. Number 3. The Young Boy. One of the most famous haunted houses in the United States is the Dutch Colonial House at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. The haunting stems from the night of November 13th, 1974, when 23-year-old Ronald Defoe killed all 6 members of his family. He was then arrested, convicted, and given 6 concurrent life sentences. In December of 1975, George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, moved into the house and claimed that spooky things were happening. For example, George would wake up at 3:15 every morning, which was the approximate time that Ronald killed his family. Kathy said she could feel a ghostly presence and be embraced by it. All of this and more caused the family to flee in fear after only staying in the house for 28 days. Due to this, demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren visited the house and set up time-lapse infrared cameras and caught this photo. This picture wasn't made public until 3 years later when George Lutz appeared on the Merv Griffith Show in 1979. Believers of the haunting think that the photo is a ghost of the youngest Defoe son, John Matthew, who was 9 at the time of the Others believe it's a staged photo, but despite the controversy, this picture is one of the most frightening images from the Amityville horror. Number 2. Man falling from the ceiling. Back in the 1950s, the Cooper family from Texas moved into their new house. Once there, they took a family photo. Normal, right? But when the picture was developed, the image of a body falling from the ceiling was clearly visible. To be clear, no one fell from the ceiling when they took the photo. So, what happened? As further investigation on this story has brought no plausible explanation, there exists many speculations, including one that argues that the shadow is the ghost of the previous owner of the house. But my question is, why is he falling from the ceiling, and why did he have to ruin that beautiful family photo? I remember seeing this photo on the internet when I was probably too young to see it, and after all these years, this image still gives me the chills. And number 1. A collection of things. I don't even know how to go on to describe this photo. It's a collection of things, but you can't really make out what any of the things are. At first glance it appears normal, but upon closer inspection it is incredibly difficult to make out any object, as everything is blurred to the point of being indistinct. Your brain is trying hard to grasp some sort of pattern to understand the context of the photo, and it looks so much like there is context to be found, but it's simply impossible. The photo is named Name One Thing in This Photo, and it was made by someone unknown. Many people have described this as what you see when you're having a stroke, but has not been released to what this is or why it was made. All I can say is that it makes me wildly uncomfortable, and I'd love it if it were deleted off the internet forever.
Starting off this list in our
Alright, y'all. And that's it for that, man. I hope y'all enjoyed. I'll catch y'all on the next one.